What if intelligence was not a fixed score given to you at birth? For decades, society taught us that your IQ is genetically predetermined and locked in place by the time you reach adulthood. But history's most influential minds tell a completely different story. Albert Einstein was labeled slow by his childhood teachers, who believed he lacked basic potential. Thomas Edison was removed from school altogether because his educators thought he was incapable of learning. Yet both went on to fundamentally reshape human progress and understanding. What changed was not their genetic code, nor was it the formal school system. What changed was the daily mental architecture they constructed through specific, deliberate habits. Modern neuroscience now confirms what these thinkers knew intuitively. Intelligence is not a static asset, but a dynamic system shaped by how you push, focus, rest, and engage your brain. By building deliberate daily routines, you can physically alter neural connectivity and expand your cognitive bandwidth. The first fundamental habit of high IQ individuals is dedicated, phone-free thinking time. Most people assume that expanding intelligence requires constant consumption, watching endless instructional videos, listening to podcasts at double speed, or reading dozens of articles every day. However, neuroscience reveals that true cognitive breakthroughs happen when the brain is forced to process and synthesize thoughts without incoming data. Einstein spent hours engaging in pure mental visualization during long, solitary walks with no notes, no reading material, and zero interruptions. When you step away from external stimuli, your brain's default mode network activates, allowing your mind to consolidate information, uncover non-obvious patterns, and generate original insights. Spending 20 to 30 minutes every day in absolute silence without checking messages, listening to music, or consuming media forces your brain to navigate its own internal landscape. Initially, this practice feels deeply uncomfortable and boring because your mind is conditioned for constant rapid stimulation. But pushing through that initial friction is precisely where your deep thinking capacity begins to expand. The second habit is wrestling with a problem independently before seeking external help. Imagine working through a complex puzzle and someone instantly steps in to hand you the solution. Your brain registers the answer, but it completely misses the learning process. Cognitive strength is forged when the brain struggles, tests hypotheses, fails, and reevaluates. Benjamin Franklin practiced a unique variation of this method. He would read a well-written essay, close the volume, and attempt to recreate the argument from scratch using only his memory and internal logic. Only after striving to rebuild it independently would he compare his work against the original text. When faced with a challenging problem, whether a software bug, a financial model, or a strategic decision, high IQ individuals intentionally force themselves to try solving it first. Requesting immediate assistance bypasses the exact cognitive strain required for forming robust new neural pathways. Making mistakes and trying again is not an indicator of low intelligence, it is the fundamental mechanism through which real problem-solving ability is constructed. The third habit centers on using writing as a tool for thinking rather than merely a storage system. Many view journaling or note-taking as a passive way to archive facts for later retrieval. However, high performers treat writing as an active cognitive workbench. The human brain operates at a rapid, chaotic pace, frequently bouncing between fragmented thoughts, competing priorities, and incomplete ideas. Writing forces that high-speed mental chatter to slow down to the precise pace of a pen or keyboard. When you write down a complex issue, you translate abstract internal noise into concrete, structured concepts visualizable on paper. This physical translation removes mental clutter and isolates key variables, allowing you to identify logical fallacies in your own reasoning. Keeping a daily thinking journal where you answer direct questions, such as what concept you are currently attempting to master or what specific assumption is confusing you, transforms passive learning into deep comprehension. True intelligence is not about accumulating endless facts. It is about distilling complex ideas into clear understanding.
The fourth habit is pursuing cross-disciplinary knowledge rather than hyper-specializing in isolation. High IQ individuals rarely confine their curiosity to a single narrow field. Instead, they actively explore diverse domains like history, physics, psychology, art, and economics, and then relentlessly search for underlying principles that connect them. When your brain holds mental models from radically different disciplines, it develops the rare ability to adapt solutions from one context to solve novel problems in another. This cross-pollination of ideas builds dense, interconnected neural networks that allow you to process new scenarios with exceptional speed and creativity. Rather than consuming content exclusively within your existing profession or comfort zone, make it a practice to regularly study topics entirely outside your realm of expertise. The broader your foundation of diverse mental models, the more versatile your problem-solving capabilities become. The fifth habit is actively training memory through retrieval and instruction. A common misconception is that a strong memory is an innate talent that you either inherit or lack entirely. In reality, memory functions much like physical muscle. It strengthens only when subjected to intentional recall effort. High IQ individuals do not rely on passive rereading or highlighted text, which creates a deceptive illusion of competence. Instead, they leverage active recall and the Feynman technique. After absorbing new material, immediately close the source material and attempt to summarize the core principles in simple terms without looking at your notes. Even better, explain the topic aloud to someone else as if they were entirely unfamiliar with the concept. Teaching forces your brain to identify hidden gaps in your understanding, structure logical sequences, and deeply encode information into long-term memory. The act of pulling knowledge out of your mind rather than continuously pushing it in is what locks concepts into place and sharpens overall mental clarity. The sixth habit is intentionally designing time for cognitive rest and deliberate boredom. Consider the routine of Charles Darwin, who only engaged in 4 to 5 hours of intense, focused work each day, spending the remaining hours walking along a quiet path, resting and contemplating. The human brain does not upgrade while operating under non-stop pressure and hyperstimulation. It consolidates learning, forms unexpected connections, and restructures neural connections during periods of true downtime. Prioritizing high-quality sleep, spending time outdoors in natural light, and allowing your mind to wander without digital input are essential components of high-level intellectual function. Boredom is not a sign of unproductivity or wasted time. It is the essential recharging phase during which your subconscious mind organizes information and resolves background problems. If you want to think with higher clarity, retain complex information, and build a sharp mind, shift your priority from continuous content intake to building sustainable cognitive habits.